This episode is brought to you by Resy and American Express. Resy is a digital platform that connects restaurants to restaurant lovers by elevating dining experiences, providing original industry content, and helping to fill some of the country's most exciting dining rooms. Because restaurants have always been more than just places to eat. The amazing world of restaurants is just a few taps away in the Resy app and at resy.com.
No one should have to choose between their own safety and their pets. But nearly half of domestic abuse survivors delay leaving because they can't bring their pets with them. Purina is helping to create more pet-friendly domestic violence shelters through the Purple Leash Project, so survivors and their pets can escape and heal together. Visit purina.com/purple to learn more.
We wanted to allow locals there to tell their own story and to focus on Hawaii as like a place, not that you can take something away from, but as it is. And so I think like it was really interesting. We never ended up running a tourism part, I think because we just wanted it to be focused on as like not a place to visit, but more like this is people's homes.
This is Taste. I'm your host, Matt Rodbard. We are back with food writers talking about food writing. It's been a little bit of a break. We took the summer off, but we have plenty of guests booked for our future. Elyse Inamine, welcome to This Is Taste. How are you?
Thanks for having me, Matt.
I've been waiting to do this for a long time and have you on this show because your journalism career is epic. I mean, you write cookbooks, you write for many of the major publications, if not all. You're in the mix and you do it with such like skill and precision. Before we get to talk about some recent food writing that we admire, some of your own work, I have to start and ask, where have you been dining out recently? Is there a meal that comes to mind that excites you?
Well, so recently my husband and I were in the Twin Cities. Maybe for years we've been wanting to visit in Minnesota. We finally were able to go a couple weeks ago, and so we hit up all these different places and loved it. It didn't hurt that it was like 80 degrees when we were there, so it wasn't like, really, really cold, but I think I do need to visit when it's actually cold outside. But we went to Diane's place, which has been getting a lot of attention, and I think it's so deserved. It's a Hmong American restaurant from Diane Mua, who is a pastry chef and a chef, and she's known for her chicken soup, which was fantastic. It's like a really thick broth, really thick like tapioca noodles. It has fresh bamboo, lots of shallots in it. It was so good. And it was the first thing we ate when we got off the plane and went like straight to the restaurant. And it has stuck with me. Like I just haven't had a soup like that before. And I think even the fact that it was hot and we're eating it when it's hot like made it even better.
Even better to have a hot soup like that.
Yeah.
I love Minneapolis year-round, frankly. I mean, I'll go there when it's 2 degrees. Great food city. Hmongtown Market, I love that place.
I haven't been there.
Yeah.
We were just kind of
St.
around
Paul.
mainly like eating at restaurants.
Yeah. I've wanted to go to the Diane's, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've wanted to go there for a while. What I'm eating is I just got back from Italy.
You're traveling.
I was traveling, so I was there for 2 weeks with Mauricio Leo. We host culinary tours, and we had some amazing travelers with us in and around Emilia-Romagna. So our home base was Bologna. So Mauricio and I were there in Bologna for almost 10 days total.
Whoa.
And yeah, a lot. It's a lot of ragu. I'd say
Yeah,
there's a lot of
that's a
ragu,
long time.
a lot of egg pasta, mortadella. I love it, but
sounds great.
sometimes you gotta like chill with the mortadella. But what I'll say is I did not chill with the gelato.
Oh.
The gelato scene in Bologna is the best in Italy. Fight me. I mean, I love Gaodin in Naples, and Rome has its spots that I'm sure people will come at me. But man, Bologna has this scene that's amazing. I went to like 7. I think Mauricio and I probably had between 2 and 4 visits to Gelateria, Creameria on this trip, and we double dipped a few times.
Wow.
Meaning we ordered, we ate, and then we got back in line.
Wow, is that good?
Is that good? I mean, you have to do that. Like, please, like, permission to do that. They're like small cups. So we're getting the medio, like, couple scoops. The places that I love, Cremeria Santo Stefano and Cremeria Cavour. They're both quite different. Stefano is like a very small storefront, very old school, like probably like early 1900s aesthetic, while Cavour is more modern and looks like a Van Leeuwen. But both are doing incredible gelato. And I think what like gelato that speaks to me is that you just don't feel stabilizers in the texture.
Oh,
It's almost
okay.
like every scoop is like one of those best scoops of ice cream at the end of a dish of ice cream.
Okay.
And I'm talking dishes mostly. I went cone a few times. Maurice's more of a Kona guy, but I was more so like when you're scooping it, it's like it's so like it's buttery, and some of the flavors. I mean, I was doing pistachio. I mean, do you ever go pistachio?
I feel like it's a premium ingredient, so I
Yeah.
always go pistachio if I'm going to do gelato.
Totally, and I was always of that mindset when going to Italy, and I went to pistachio for the first week, burned out. Frankly, a lot of pistachio. So I went to stracciatella, which are like
classic.
Fiorda latte with little shaves of chocolate, limone, like underrated
Oh.
limone plus just pistachio. At Cavour, I had a Zabaione, which is like a Marsala wine and egg custard, so it's really yellow and has this like little bit of wine flavor to it. And then at Cavour, they had a tribute to the Sicilian cassata cake.
Okay.
Which was like these like bitter orange pieces and little pieces of like brioche in the actual gelato. I have to say, panna, I'm like very mixed on panna.
Interesting.
It's a little much.
Oh, okay.
Do you do panna ever?
Not really.
Yeah. It's not your vibe. I almost feel like I want to just do gelato, no panna, but I'll put the chocolate at the bottom.
Oh,
They put the
okay.
chocolate at
That's
the
how
bottom
you
of
do it.
chocolate at the bottom of the cone. So those are my two. That's where I was at. I have plenty of Italy reflections. I think Eliza and I are going to catch up soon about my Italy trip. Before we get to the food writing and your writing, you brought a snack.
I did. I brought a snack. So this is by way of Sheldon Simeon. He was in town the other day and brought me this. I don't know if anyone can see it, but it is a delight.
Yeah, we're doing this for YouTube. I should have said that from the jump. Yeah, this is live on YouTube. Not live,
yeah.
but
Not live, yeah.
taped. We're doing this in a day that is not today, but it is on YouTube. Links
Yes.
links in the show notes.
But yeah, so go to YouTube to look at what I have because I won't describe it.
So
But
the nose of the bouquet is cool.
Yeah, so it's like really like it's hard because it's like colorful.
Yeah.
But it's a weird word to say, but it's like hard because it's like a little sour. It smells like also like sprinkles. Like there's something kind of like unnatural smelling about it.
There's something I was gonna say. It's not like full botanical, like natural. It has a little bit of processed smell to it.
Yeah. But then there's also this like kind of like dried citrusy like Chinese medicine kind of smell to
medicinal
it too.
as well. So let's pop it down.
Okay.
I'm gonna try it. Wow. Sorry, audio folks. We're doing a little snacking here. Sour salty.
But also like there's these little crackle crunchy parts of like these like sprinkly bits. What is the taste that you, after we like described how it smelled, like what are you tasting?
I mean, sour on the front and on the back, umami, roasty, caramel, and there's a gummy in the middle.
Yes. So this
It's
is
intense, man.
Yeah, so it's like the first time I had this, I was like blown away because I was
good.
just like, there's so much going on in terms of like every single flavors in this. But I think it's because it's basically a nerd's rope that is covered in lihing mui, which is a Hawaii seasoning that's made out of like dehydrated prune and like a bunch of like warm spices that's kind of added to everything.
Prune is the root. That's really great.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you've unlocked something when you say prune. Which, oh my God, that's really good. Thank you, Sheldon, for sharing it with us, bringing it over.
Yeah,
Really great.
it's my favorite snack right now.
Yeah, it's really good. Thank you for listeners for letting us chew on the mic. So before we get to some stories, I want to ask you about some of your own food writing. I think, as I mentioned at the top, you write cookbooks and articles, and just your reporting is terrific.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about Kewpie, this mayonnaise that you wrote this book about that we know. I think we know Kewpie. It's like very, very, very popular. We know it's from Japan, we being collected listeners who I know are informed about food, but there's like much more to the story.
Yeah, so Kewpie mayonnaise this year turns 100 years old. And so I got a call from my agent being like, I know you're working on a couple different cookbooks right now. Would you want to work on a third one? This was last summer. And I was like, what? But then she's like, it's Kewpie. And I was like, immediately, yes. Because it's such a cult condiment, I feel like. Like, I didn't grow up eating Kewpie, even though I'm a Japanese American person. And, like, all the grocery stores I grew up going to stocked it for sure. But I felt like once I got into food media, I saw like so many chefs were really into it because it has MSG. It's like full of umami. It's like a really intense mayo. It's not like a bland wallflower mayo. And I feel like
Wallflower mayo.
mayo, I feel like I had to eat every so often when I was working on this cookbook.
So
I
good.
would like eat different mayos because there's only so many words you can use to describe mayo. And so that I eat different mayos. I just like would put it on my like just squeeze it on my finger and then just eat it and then try it with Kewpie and to like remind myself of what it tasted like. And Kewpie is a really intense mayo. Like if I add it to like a sandwich or anything, like I know it's there. And that's why I love it. And I think that's why a lot of people love it too.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, Kewpie, you taste MSG in the best way possible.
Yeah, like it tastes seaweedy to me.
I get that umami. Those glutamates are working. I get egg as well. I get the flavor of egg in that mayonnaise that you don't get in like a Best Foods, Hellmann's, or Duke's, etc. And I think that plays such a great role in your cooking when you have that like really robust eggy MSG mayonnaise.
Yeah, and you're right, because they only use egg yolks in it.
Yeah,
they don't use a whole egg, and that's like kind of the claim to fame I feel like Kewpie has is the mayo and the MSG.
So what are home
or
cooks
not the mayo, the egg yolks and the
got
MSG.
it. What are we missing as home cooks with Kewpie? I think the tendency is to obviously slather it on bread and use it as in a sandwich format, but much more going on there.
Yeah, so when I was asked to do this cookbook, I mean, obviously, I mostly just write and report. That's the thing that I do. That's my bread and butter or bread and mayonnaise, you could say.
Bread and mayonnaise.
So I was like, the person who should do the recipes is Jesse Yu-Chen. Jesse and I go way back. We worked at Bonap together. Jesse's a recipe developer.
Yeah.
I knew they would do a great job with thinking of really fun ways to work on this. And so what was really cool is like we got to have a lot of access to Kewpie, the company in Japan. So we got to see a cookbook that they made internally that is recipes from their employees. And we learned a lot about how they use Kewpie. Because of the vinegar in it, they'll use Kewpie to help tenderize meat and stuff. So Jesse has a really great recipe for baby back ribs where you slather a little bit of mayo on it in addition to like hot honey and stuff. And then that's how you serve it. It's
unreal application. Really smart.
Yeah, super
so
fun.
Smart.
And then because of the egg yolk factor, which you're talking about, like a lot of employees at Kewpie will use the mayo as a batter to instead of like, setting up the whole stations, they'll just dip it directly into it. So Jesse has this really great recipe for fish tacos where you dredge it in mayo and a few other things. And then you fry it in a pan.
Fry it right there with the...
Yeah, and it's like nice and tender. You get like nice little like sweet, crispy, charred parts. So Jesse had really fun ideas of how to really use Kewpie to its full potential in terms of it can be a tenderizer. It can help like start emulsification of something.
Yeah.
It can, and beyond just like it's really great as like a flavor enhancer.
Love it. I mean, we had a recipe in Koreatown with Kewpie that we did gochujang Kewpie in grilled cheese. And it was super great. Shouts to Dookie on that one. That it doesn't end there with you with cookbooks. You're also working on a book with Eric C. And our friend Alex Lau shot the photos. I love just seeing a little bit of a sneak peek on social media from what you're doing there. But give us a like tiny preview. I know it's coming out next year.
Yeah, so we were just in Taiwan. I think Eric talked about it on the podcast with Eliza when he was in. So we were in Taiwan for about 10 days. And to photograph and report. And I actually called you before that because I was like, I don't know how we're going to do this. Like, what are your tips for how to do this? Because it was really fun because we're basically like chronicling everything as we're kind of like experiencing certain things for the first time, seeing how certain things have changed, and like documenting not just like what's happening in Taiwan and in Taipei, but also Eric's own relationship with Taiwan and Taiwanese food.
Yeah.
So it was really cool. We like hit a bunch of like street food stalls. We went to cook with his mom. We went to other cities like Tainan and Taichung. We ate a lot. Like we counted that we've had probably, I think in those 10 days, we had like over 60 bowls of lurufan because we were kind of researching the differences and how it's kind of grown as a dish in Taiwan. And that was really cool. I think after that, I was like, I can't eat this for a little bit. But it was like really interesting, I think, to see it from like Eric's eyes. And I felt also just super lucky to be with like the two most like generous guys in the food industry. Like Lau and Eric were so fun to be with, and were super flexible and had like really fun and weird ideas for like how to capture stuff.
Yeah.
And at the end, we all got friendship bracelets, and so Eric, on the last day that we were there, Eric cut his off and threw it away. Mine, like, poetically just fell off my hand. And Lau is still wearing his because he will not take it off till we're done with the cookbook, which isn't going to happen for a little bit. So I think it's so funny. He's still wearing it because every so often we check in with each other on our WhatsApp to be like the state of everyone's
bracelet.
But it's really just Lau's bracelet, and it's like barely hanging on.
I love that memory. I mean, when you travel for a book, you forge these bonds that you can't really talk about. But like, I love the idea that you bring up weird, because that word is so cool when we talk about cookbooks, because you want to make these books different, and weird can be different and differentiating from this crazy season we're in right now. You want your books to be unique, and you're thinking about these things. Yeah,
and I think like what I loved is like seeing like Korea World and like how interesting visually that was, in terms of like you saw dishes and recipes in context of how they're served and like where they are. And I think that's something that we're thinking about here. And so I think it was really fun to like hear like your process on that. Obviously, we still have like some things that we're shooting at like Eric's restaurants and stuff that's coming up soon. But it was really fun, I think, to just like go on the ground and like it was almost like journalistic.
It is.
You were shooting it.
I can't wait for this book. I'm highly anticipating it for next year. Today's episode of This Is Taste is brought to you by Grow Therapy. Have you ever tried to Google therapist near me and ended up more anxious than when you started? Yeah, same. For real, I once spent 2 hours scrolling potential therapists. I started checking their LinkedIns. I started checking their Instagram profiles, all that background information. And you know what? I did not end up with a therapist at the end of this deep dive. I knew too much. Grow Therapy makes it way less overwhelming and way more affordable. Whether it's your first time in therapy or your 50th, Grow makes it easier to find a therapist who fits your needs. They connect you with thousands of independent, licensed therapists across the U.S., offering both virtual and in-person sessions, nights and weekends. It's that easy. And you can search by what matters, like insurance, specialty, or availability, and get started in as little as 2 days. And if something comes up, you can cancel up to 24 hours in advance at no cost. There are no subscriptions, no long-term commitments. You just pay per session. Grow helps you find therapy on your own time. Whatever challenges you're facing, Grow Therapy is here to help. Sessions average about $21 with insurance, and some pay as little as $0, depending on their plan. Visit growtherapy.com/taste today to get started. That's growtherapy.com/taste. Availability and coverage vary by state and insurance plan.
Finished training for the day? Time to fight post-workout fatigue with Core Power Protein Shakes. They're packed with 26 grams of high-quality protein to build muscle and electrolytes to help hydrate. The nutrition you need to help your body replenish, rebuild, and repair post-workout so you can power on to the next one. Champion your recovery with Core Power. Visit corepower.com to learn more.
Should we talk about some food writing?
Yes.
Let's talk about some food writing. So, as we always do on the show, we like to pull a couple links from the internet or print publications sometimes, and talk about them. And these are stories that have been popping up on our feeds, and I thought that they would generate some cool conversation. The first one is a $35 chicken dinner in Mississippi: How New York Prices Went National by Megan McCarran in the New York Times. Really, really cool piece. Megan is such a terrific reporter, and I think this really shows how you can really go really in and close, and then get to a point where there's a general thesis at the end or even at the beginning. But I think that this piece is smart. It profiles Hunter Evans, who is a chef. In New York, he cooked at Le Bernardin and Danny Meyer's North End Grill, but he craved his own restaurant. He wanted to do his own. He knew that the economics in New York couldn't allow that, so he moved to Jackson, Mississippi, and opened Southern Bistro, Elyse, in 2020. At Elyse, he was serving poulet, Wellington, thigh for $35. Remember that number. It's very important. The response to this price was quite negative, and his diners were saying, man, you're serving these big city prices. Those are air quotes. Now, I think what Megan's doing here, she's unpacking this idea of big city prices. And is there really a big city price in America today? Evans in the piece is quoted to, he pays his employees only a few dollars more than he would in New York. He's encountering $50,000 in annual credit card fees. His Gulf shrimp, butter, and bavette steak cost the same in Jackson, Mississippi as it would in New York City. Remember that. The piece also profiles Avishar Bura, a chef that cooked in New York at Mission Chinese and WD-50 before opening a tasting menu in Columbus, Ohio called Agni. It was $120 at lunch. It's now $140. He was nervous to open, but in the end, I think things worked out. This is kind of the theme of the piece. Another profile is this David Uderbach, chef and owner of Yoshitomo in Omaha, and he's doing a $285 omakase. Now, the zoom out here is important because sticker shock actually, it happens at all restaurants. And it happens in New York and it happens in Omaha. But I think what Megan is coming to in this is that this idea of big city prices is kind of outdated, antiquated, and that there are diners, if the product is good, if the restaurant is great, they're willing to spend the money. Perhaps they're dining out less. Perhaps they're dining out better. These are things we talk about a lot on the show. So this idea that you're doing big city prices, while negative at the beginning, I think the piece profiled 3 chefs who are able to make it all work and charge these prices. What did you think about it?
Yeah, it was interesting because when I was reading big city prices, like air quotes, I was kind of like, is this just code for inflation? Like I feel like there's so many like rising costs these days that it's really hard for the reality is like all restaurant operators are dealing with rising food costs, rising rent, rising labor costs. And so this is just now like something that is like the reality of like going out to eat at this point. But I think there's also this part that what I really liked reading about in the piece was hearing like people's reactions to stuff. And I actually did something I never do with stories is I was reading the comments of this. And it was like interesting because everybody was just complaining about how everything is like expensive in their city. But I think like it's beyond like kind of like the almost like the baitiness of like that kind of reaction was like seeing people who want to invest in the restaurants in their city. They don't just want like another chain or like another steakhouse. They want to see people who are from here, like trained here or whatever, like doing stuff that they really care about. And that is like things that the community supports. So I felt like it was cool like reading some of the patrons who are coming to these restaurants who like, I think one guy for Hunter's restaurant was like, I love the Bloody Mary mix. And like this is like a thing that is worth it for me to like invest in. And I think that is like the cool part of this story is seeing how people like get past the sticker shock because they're like, this is what I want my city to encourage. Yeah. And I think in like New York, we have so many restaurants. And I think like we're a city that in terms of density can like support and encourage like so many different things. And I think like the idea of like big city can also maybe is like starting to, I don't know if like, there's so many great restaurants like all over this country. Like you don't need a big city to have a great restaurant. But I think the idea of like investing in like the restaurants that are for your community and like you as a patron want to support is cool that this story touches upon.
I agree. And it's very cool that that those commenters didn't read the story. they use it as a reason to actually just talk about why like the $35 chicken leg is too much of the thigh. But I think Megan did a great job of just like outlining why things cost so much and fully agree to support your restaurant even if the sticker shock is there. It's just your responsibility. If you are somebody who enjoys dining out to actually make the budget work, dining out is not for everyone. Not every restaurant is for everyone. I've moved recently in the past 5 years to a community upstate New York that we don't have like a lot of restaurants. So when they open and I enjoy it, I try to go back as much as possible.
Right.
You just have to do that. And so if there is a pricing issue at the beginning, you kind of have to muscle through if the cuisine is there. If you like dining at the restaurant, if you like the food, you're going to have to just figure out because they're not gouging.
No, like it's not like anyone's like, oh, it's trendy to have expensive prices for these dishes. I'm going to do that.
And I'm going to make more money.
Yeah.
No, it's amazing thing to think about, the big city prices going out of date. I like that. Next story, Hawaii the local way for Bon Appetit. You wrote this one.
Yeah, I worked on this with Jen Choi, who is an editor at Bon App.
Yeah, well, I love shouting out the editors. We should be doing that more. Shout out your editor. I like that.
Well, she's the one who came to me with the story, actually. Well, to be like, do you want to do this?
Let's unpack that a bit because you have a personal connection to Hawaii, and you made some stylistic choices with this piece, which I really want to get into. We can talk a little craft here. But just from the jump, explain your connection to Hawaii and what you wanted to do with this piece, which is a pretty sweeping piece in the print pages and online at BA.
Yeah, so I grew up going to Hawaii a lot. My dad's side is all there. My whole family's there. I grew up going like every single year. As an adult now, I try to go as often as I can, even though the flight is so long from here. Yeah. Hawaii is a place that was like has always been like a second home for me. And as I was getting older, I don't know, there's certain things like when you travel to a place that is like where your family is, you kind of just like do what your family tells you to do, and you just figure out like your own traditions, or like kind of just like do whatever your cousins and aunts and uncles and grandma are telling you to do. And as I was getting older and going for work or like for fun on my own, I was starting to learn more about Hawaii and like have a little bit more autonomy in terms of my relationship with Hawaii. And I realized I like didn't really know anything. I kind of just knew like what I grew up with. And so as I was getting more into food media, I was just more curious. And so I would like seek out different chefs like Sheldon, or talk to like cultural practitioners and just try to understand more of like this really, really unique food culture that I've come to love and really identify with, but didn't know like a ton about growing up. And I still feel like I'm learning every day. And it's like such an interesting one where there's like these indigenous roots, but there's also these immigrant roots and how they all kind of mingle together on these small chain of islands and like make such a unique food culture. I was just really interested. Yeah,
well, in this piece, you write about indigenous cuisine and how it's different from that immigrant cuisine, and I think farming plays a role. What to you would be a great way for our listeners to visit Hawaii and understand, just focusing on the traditional cuisine?
Yeah, I think like what's interesting is part of the piece when we were working on it is there's a time where we thought about having like a how to visit Hawaii
sidebar.
Thoughtfully. And like as I was talking to different like chefs and just like people there, like it felt more and more like not the right thing to do. Yeah. And I think part of it was because of the nature of this. The way that we approached like doing this package is we wanted to allow locals there to tell their own story and to focus on Hawaii as like a place, not that you can take something away from, but as it is. And so I think like it was really interesting. We never ended up running a tourism part, I think because we just wanted it to be focused on as like not a place to visit, but more like this is people's homes. And so I think like that's something that like I think about a lot is like whenever I go, it is a second home for me, but it's not like the place that I live like all the time. And like I feel very privileged to like know different people there who like give me insight and connect me with other people. But I think it's definitely like a place that's like, you know, it's an island and like there's a certain mutuality like when you live on an island. And I think like that's taught me a lot about like how do you relate with like people and places and like resources and like how do you respect them and kind of like hold them in a way that is, I don't know, just like understanding what it is versus like trying to analyze it too much or like or pick it apart or take something from it and just appreciate it.
How did you decide on the oral history format? Because I think it's unique in that you have all this space. You wrote a beautiful introduction. Some of your writing in there, but a lot of it is oral history. It's you know, in as told to essentially. So how did you land on that? And like, tell us a few folks you spoke with.
Yeah. So actually, it basically came out of Jen Choi, who was the editor who asked me if I wanted to work on this with her. She had done a very similar package about Appalachia for Bon App maybe 1 or 2 years ago. And it got nominated for an ASME, which was really cool. And I think Bon App was like, let's do it again. And so like, let's try Hawaii.
Always hunting those ASMEs, those Condé Nast editors, you know. They have like a room full of ASMEs. They have a floor full of ASMEs there at Condé Nast.
Yeah. So it took us like a year of just like reaching out to different like chefs and scholars and cultural practitioners and kind of being like talking to them and asking about, how would you describe your relationship to Hawaii? What is the food of Hawaii? And these are questions that were really hard for people to answer, even people who like grew up there. And then we would be like, and then of course everyone was like, and you should talk to like these 5 other people.
Oh, isn't that great?
Which was awesome because then there are people who I would have never thought to like connect with or like I had just been wanting to for a while. So one of the people that was really cool that I got to talk to is Sam Choi, an OG. He was one of the founding members of Hawaii Regional Cuisine.
Yeah.
And he is like the godfather of poke, essentially. And he was like so fascinating to talk to, especially as like poke has become like this global phenomenon and how he sees like that is a good thing. And not everyone sees that, but I think for him, he sees like if we have this good thing in Hawaii, I want to share it. And also I see poke in many other cuisines. And he was explaining like, in different places that he would travel to and how he would try like a herring dish. And that was like, I think in Rotterdam or something. He was like, this reminds me of poke. And it was really cool because like we were in Hawaii to like report some of this out. And we actually went to me and Jen and Sylvie, who was on our team at that point too. We were working on some social video stuff too. We went to a beach where he actually first tried poke. And so then I texted him and I was like, oh, we're at the beach that you're at. And he called me immediately and he was like, if you look this way, like this is where I was standing where like this fisherman handed me like some salty fish. And that was like the first time that I had poke. And it was like really special to like be at the place where like for him it all happened.
Yeah. Amazing that he was responsible for kind of initiating this poke. What makes great poke to you?
I think it's a lot of it is just whatever is super fresh.
Yeah.
And also like local to you. Like I don't expect to eat like ahi here, for example.
Yeah.
And I think there's also like interesting ways of like preparation. Like there's certain like really popular ways of like eating it in Hawaii. Like there's like the cold ginger style, which is usually applied to chicken, but they apply it to poke.
Yeah.
So I like that. So I think for me, like whatever is like the freshest, like it's fun too if like you meet somebody and they're like, my uncle or cousin caught this. And you're like, that makes it taste even better to me.
I mean, I just remember Umeke's on the Big Island is a place I enjoyed poke.
Oh,
it was my spot, and I think I mentioned that in a previous episode. And someone wrote in and said that place is trash. I'm like, okay,
really?
Well, this is why we love this format. But that I think what they were doing that soy ginger style.
That's my mom's favorite.
I love that, but it can go creamier too.
Yeah, like there's definitely like spicy mayo is like a thing. There's like a miso version.
Yeah,
you can kind of do anything with.
You can put some kupi in there too.
Yeah, you could put kupi in there. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I think, what about produce? Like, let's close the Hawaii talk, because I think we're linking to in the show notes. Definitely check out the piece. But what about produce? Because we think about, obviously, pineapple. That's the one that but there's much more in the agriculture in Hawaii than one single crop.
Right. And I think it's really interesting because a lot of this was introduced by Native Hawaiians who had canoe crops and brought it to Hawaii and created like these amazing like agricultural systems that connected like land and water in ways that are like still amazing today, especially as like a lot of different people are working towards like restoring these old land management systems. Probably like the most important ingredient there is kalo, which is taro. And it's really cool. Like we went to Waipa Foundation on Kauai, and they're taking like old, I think the fields used to be rice fields, so it's watery, and then they're now like repurposing it to be kalo. And it's really cool to see like how they grow in the water, and they were showing us like how there's these like invasives that come in that are bright pink, and so they invite children, like schools and stuff, to like come and crush them.
Oh, fun. That's good.
But that's like the most important ingredient or in terms of produce, because it like all parts of it are used. Like the root vegetable itself is like pounded into poi. The leaves are used to wrap up and like steam into laulau, and it's also part of the creation story. So it's like really cool how like this one specific produce is like so important in so many different ways, and it's cool to like also enjoy it there and like see the different varieties as well.
I love that. Really, really smart stuff to think about that crop and the many ways it's used in Hawaii. And I love the piece. So congratulations on writing that. Our next story, our final story, a legendary Hell's Kitchen hellhole is back from the dead. New York Magazine is the publication. Steve Garbarino is the writer. And this piece, I thought it really spoke to me because Siberia Bar is a place that I've been going to since pretty much I moved to New York. The piece is about, of course, Siberia Bar. It opened in 1996 at the 19 station at the 50th and Broadway stop. That was the one that Anthony Bourdain famously wrote about in Kitchen Confidential and pretty much said it was his favorite bar forever in like his million of media interviews. That location closed in 2001. Before that, there was a lot of like media and SNL cast, and plenty of people went there. But when it closed, there was a little bit of a gap. It opened again in Hell's Kitchen in this like standalone spot at 40th and 9th. That place was insane. I got to go. I've been to the previous two, and this new one I haven't been to. My story about the second location is this. I was working at WWE at the time at the magazine, wrestling that is. And
Wait, yeah, I was like, what?
WWE wrestling, yeah. I don't think I've talked about it in the pod. That is my past.
Oh my gosh,
really,
I need
really
to hear
interesting
more
time.
about this.
I was an editor. I was a senior editor at the magazine at WWE. We were in New York. The offices were in Stamford. We worked up there, but we happened to be in New York. And we had a championship belt with us. It wasn't a real one, but it was like one of the more expensive ones that were like a high quality wrestling belt that somebody had brought along. We were having some drinks after work, a bunch of my colleagues working at that magazine. And we go to Siberia Bar because that's where you go, I guess, when you work in media. I worked with some dudes from Maxim, and there was like a bit of a media thing there at the time. So we go in with the belt. We sit down at Siberia, start ordering drinks and stuff. We're sitting there with the belt. A couple people are looking at us, whatever. All of a sudden, two dudes like rush up to us and start asking us a million questions. Are extremely excited. Kieran Culkin and Macaulay Culkin.
Wait, that's who came up to you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Wait, what were they asking you?
So those guys are famously really into wrestling.
Oh,
like
I didn't know that.
Kieran, like they're big wrestling heads, which is cool. That is why they came up to us. Kieran was I think in Igby Goes Down, or like he was like smaller roles at the time. Wasn't who we know today.
Yeah.
And then Macaulay Culkin. Jesus,
Yeah.
Macaulay Culkin. Lovely in exchange. 20 years ago, I have a few memories of the evening, but they were lovely people. But I guess my point is that is the kind of thing that would happen at Siberia Bar. There are a lot of people would hang out there late night and stuff would happen. And that was my story. But back to the New York Magazine story. The bar that I went to, the one in Hell's Kitchen, it closed in the early 2010s, and it's been kind of dark. It's been like IP just waiting for it to be opened or used again. Well, that IP has been thrust into our world with the recent acknowledgement of the opening of the new Siberia Bar right around the corner from our offices.
Yeah, I was like, it's super close to here.
Yeah, it's Columbus Circle, the 57th and 8th train station. It is now back in its proper subterranean subway form. The owner of Siberia Bar is a gentleman named Tracy Westmoreland. He's owned all three iterations. And fascinating guy. I've read about him and I've seen him at the bar. Hope he comes on the podcast one day. I would love to ask him things.
That'd be a good one.
It would be great. The new location is very small, 8 bar stools. It's 12-foot high ceilings. It's only 750 square feet. There's no bathroom. You can use the bathroom in the subway station. And as the writer points out really, really well in this piece, and I think this piece is worth reading because it's kind of about Siberia, but about also this culture. The dive bar, the dive is kind of dead in New York. He does note that places like Milano's, Spring Lounge, Shark Bar, Johnny's Bar, and Jimmy's Corner are still there. These are places that are famously a little rough around the edges, open early and open late. And I kind of thought about dives, and I was like, whoa, what happened to the dives? What happened to Motor City? Did you ever get to go to Motor City?
No, I never went.
Lower East Side, man. That was my dive. But I love this piece because it's like about one thing, but there's more going on in the piece. What did you think about this? Did you have any Siberia Bar story?
Yeah. Well, I haven't ever been, but I feel like now I'm like so curious about your WWE background. I have to ask you about it because I grew up watching a lot of wrestling as a kid. Like, when this is like a tangent, is like, I feel like growing up in the 90s, like your parents didn't really know what you were watching on TV all the time. Not. So I watched like a lot of wrestling and a lot of Ren and Stimpy.
Like Raw, SmackDown era?
I was a big fan of Goldust, randomly. So,
really?
Yeah. Even though I feel like he got beat up all the time.
I got to meet Goldust back in the day. This is like total flex here. Food writers talking about food writing is me flexing on my, yes, maybe one day I'll talk about all the superstars, we call them.
You should interview yourself for this.
This was
except for make it about wrestling, right?
Yeah, I have great stories. I did sign an NDA, so I'm always aware of that. But it was a really good experience overall. So,
sorry.
Siberia, though.
I have never been, but I love this story. It reminded me of very Joseph Mitchell, New Yorker profile of people and characters in a place and how all of those things are so New York. So I love this story, and it made me think of dive bars and you were saying, kind of dive bar culture and what's happening. And the place that I go to that I love is Fish Market in Financial District. It's kind of dive bar, kind of restaurant. But I love that it's a restaurant that is run by a family. They truly do not care what people think. I remember I had my birthday there years ago, and we were can we buy it out? And they're no, we still want to keep it open for our regulars. And I respected that. I liked it that they're we exist. We don't care if you have a minimum. We exist because we want to. And they don't care about algorithms. They don't care about trends. They just exist for the sake of existing. And I feel that's something that I think is really cool, given there's so many places that are just about vibes and aura and trying to keep up with stuff and get lines or be on social media or be a place that people want to go to. And I feel a dive bar just because it exists, it's important, and it knows that.
And you really did a nice job of kind of defining what a dive is, because I think in this modern age, it's not like the old Mars, which, you couldn't go in the bathroom and it was just truly disgusting. Now, you have to actually be nice. And I think Tracy Westmoreland is charging prices that are about $1 under what you would charge at bars in this area. So it's not like you're getting $3 beers anymore. But I love your sentiment because it reminds me of places that are still open that are, I wouldn't call them dives because I wouldn't want to make them feel like they're cheap or anything, but Magician, Tile Bar in the East Village or Radio Bar, whatever you decide to call it. Welcome to Johnson's is still open, which is insane to me.
Yes.
Crazy. But it's they don't care.
No.
They don't care.
But I feel that's the best part. I feel I don't know, everything has so much symbol or meaning or there's it's not an agenda. It's I don't know, everyone wants to be known for something, and it's a dive bar. It's known for its clientele and how you feel in it, and I love Fish Market, for example, because they're so funny. They just have I think huge bottles of Jameson, and maybe every 30 minutes they're going around giving shots to everyone. For a long time their door on the outside, the knob fell off or something. So it was really hard to literally get in. You have to try hard to get in. You kind of had to grasp whatever was sort of sticking out to pull out in some way. And I think I don't know, it's nice to just go to a place that just enjoys being itself and unapologetically. And I think that's something where it's when there's so much every restaurant's trying to have a certain take or whatever, especially in New York, which is so competitive. And I understand the need to brand yourself in a certain way. A dive bar is nice, and that the whole point is that there's no brand.
Yeah, and it feels maybe some of these real estate situations, because they're so old and maybe they own their real estate and they can actually do that. And God bless them for having the ability to do what they want to do in New York City of all places. I wonder if it's kind of dip in drinking. People aren't drinking as much.
That's what I was wondering too.
Yeah,
because I feel I love Fish Market. I haven't been in a while because I'm not drinking that much anymore.
Yeah.
But I want it to live on because it's just I think it's important, the authenticity of it, which is a word that I don't really like using normally, because I feel it can flatten or put rules around something.
Yeah.
But I think the idea of something just being itself, I really like that. And I feel we need more places that are like
Definitely.
that.
And aren't pressured by the outside media story or social media pressure to be something that they're not. And having that strong point of view. Standings is another one in the East Village, which is more of a sports bar, but I love Standings.
I haven't been.
That's a great go there for NFL. It's so much fun.
Okay, yeah, we are watching more Vikings games now.
Oh yeah, Vikings.
Yeah.
They're all right.
They are. My husband has a fantasy league, or it's my family's fantasy league.
Oh, cool.
But I do not help at all.
No.
But he calls it our team. But it's his team when they're losing, and it's our team when we're winning.
That's the way.
But the Vikings defense is our defense.
Oh, you have a team defense. Oh, interesting model. I like the team defensing. I like that we're going to WWE. We're going to fantasy sports. I'm more of a fantasy hoops guy personally. But that's my squad. Yeah, I like that. So great talking stories with you. Before we get to our media taste check, I have to ask you, I've been reading a lot of Condé Nast stuff. I, of course, read the Graydon Carter memoir, which I talked about with Liza on Three Things. I'm now reading this terrific Condé Nast biography, history. It came out about a month ago. Hearing so much about the glory days of Condé and interesting business structures. I'm going to talk about it a little bit more in a future episode because I have some thoughts and takeaways for modern media.
Ooh.
But this is the Graydon Carter question. Let's just say you had the ability to write a feature for Graydon Carter at Vanity Fair in 1997, meaning that you had pretty much no budget. You could write it, we'll call it $100,000. Truly, they're throwing contracts around for that.
Yeah.
You had 6 months to report it. What would that story be?
So I've given this a lot of thought. I would love to write a story about Spam, tracing it from its birthplace in Austin, Minnesota, to like how it got to places like Hawaii and like South Korea. And obviously, a lot of it has to do with the American military presence. But I think it would be really interesting to see how it went from like this American like military ration to something that is like very part of these cultures and beloved in certain ways, and kind of the complicatedness around that, especially as we think about like local foodways and local ingredients and like kind of like this like sudden American like product in like all of these dishes like budae jjigae or like spam musubi. So I would love to like go to Spam HQ and like slowly make my way and also try to find out like are there places that I didn't realize Spam was like very prevalent in, and like understand like how it entered into the food culture.
Love that. I feel like there's been reporting on Spam, but to get this like time to actually go places like Mexico where Spam is popular, and of course getting to the bottom of budae jjigae, which still to this day I hear contradictory stories from Korea about the history of that dish. And, I've heard it arrived even before the American GIs were there, and that Spam was present before the war. That this narrative that it was only because of GIs is possibly there's some holes in that argument.
Oh, interesting.
Perhaps I'll be reporting on this for something later. But Spam musubi, of course, that's a good one. I mean, I feel like you could do this.
All right, Graydon.
Get
in touch.
Graydon 97 on the phone.
Yeah, let's go back in time.
I love that idea.
Wish you could become a morning person? You know the type, up before the sun, early morning runs, first one to the office with donuts and a smile. How do they do it? Easy. With the new Galaxy Watch 8, sleep tracking and personalized insights from Samsung Health help you improve so you can wake up to a whole new you. One who, dare I say it, skips the snooze? It's possible. Train your sleep with Galaxy Watch 8. Learn more at Samsung.com. Requires compatible Samsung Galaxy phone, Samsung Health app, and Samsung account.
How do you top your love for your cat? With a cascade of decadent, savory gravy over a mouth-watering mousse pâté. Fancy Feast Gems. 2 gourmet pâtés in one convenient pack. Simply peel and plate to reveal a pyramid shape that makes eating delightful and pamper her with an experience as extraordinary as she is. Turn the everyday into the extraordinary with Fancy Feast Gems.
On This Is Taste, we ask guests about their discerning taste. So to close this interview, here's a little rapid fire. Fast and Furious Taste Check Media Edition. Are you ready?
Yes.
What is the first thing you read in the morning, and where do you read it?
I actually wait until I get to my laptop and I read stuff.
Okay.
Because I like to have like a nice long coffee with my husband, Travis, and this is his shirt, by the way. I got it in Taiwan for him, but I'm
shouts
using
to Travis. Nice style there.
And like I like to like talk to him. So like I was talking to him about like I don't know what we read or like weird dreams that we had, and then I like to like read stuff. And so usually I try to read. It depends on the day. Like if it's like a Tuesday, I'm like kind of seeing if the Times restaurant review came out. I love reading Letter of Recommendation. That's like one of my favorite columns. So I'll always see if like the new one came out and then immediately read that.
I love that. It's a great column. What do you read on actual paper, if anything?
Mostly magazines at this point and cookbooks. I feel like that's like the main thing. So like Harper's, New York Times Magazine, and cookbooks. Yeah,
cookbooks. Did you have a favorite food publication growing up?
I didn't grow up with a lot of food publications. I think because like my family, the way we got like food or like recipes was through Japanese American like community cookbooks from like Buddhist temples or just really large Japanese American families. So that's where all the recipes came from at home.
So when did cookbooks enter the mix for you?
It was when I started becoming more interested in working in food media. So one of the first cookbooks that I got was one by Anita Lowe that my parents got me kind of close to when I graduated.
Yeah. What a great first cookbook, Anita Lowe.
Yeah,
Writes
classic.
beautiful books. We all have a relationship with food TV and PBS in particular. Did you have a favorite PBS personality or show growing up?
Well, so I was just reminded of this because I was like, what was on growing up? And I didn't watch like a ton of PBS as a kid, but like I watched a lot of Mind of a Chef. And recently, Eric Z, when we were working on cookbook stuff, he sent me the episode where they talk about MSG. And then I started like rewatching it again. And I was like, man, this is such a good show. And it still like holds up. And it's still, I just love like this show because it's like serious about food, but doesn't take itself seriously. Yeah, I thought I feel like I haven't seen anything like that in so long.
I loved that show. David Chang did the first one. Edward Lee was on there. Tosi was on there. Guys at ZPZ were producing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great show. Really pioneering in many ways. Let's talk about YouTube, TikTok, social video in our world. I just want to be like straight up, like where are you at right now with it?
Yeah, this is such a funny question. I am not on TikTok. I am barely on Instagram, but I love YouTube, which is maybe why I'm not really on like social media that much. Like I love right now just watching like fishermen, whether they're professional or hobby, go out on the water, catch something, clean it, gut it, and then cook with it.
Oh,
It's very minimal production. There's almost like no dialogue. There is for sure no music. It's just them doing like what they love or what they're good at. And I feel like there's something about that like is very like more like my speed right now. I think everything's like really fast, or it's like hot takes or like crazy transformations, which of course I love. Like on social media, I watch like so many like people like bringing back to life like a mid-century like cabinet or something.
Yes.
And they do it in like 5 seconds. But obviously it's a lot of work.
Woodwork, yeah.
But there's something nice about seeing somebody just do what they're really good at for a long time. And like it's almost not, I mean, obviously they're filming it and editing it for me to watch it, but it's not really about making it for a viewer. It's like them just doing their thing. And I actually really like that.
A camera just happens to be there and they're not like stunned for the camera.
Yeah, actually one guy was funny. Like he's cooking something. You can tell he like puts his phone like underneath his chin because the angle is really weird of him like cooking. And I was like, I love it. Like you didn't have a tripod and you're just going with it.
I love that. Are these getting like big streams?
I don't know. Like I think one of them, it is pretty big, but it's hard because it's all in Japanese. So like I can't really tell like how big in terms of like globally they are. But like some of these are like really small. But then I think what's also interesting is like people are doing this, but then so many people then see it and then just start doing it. So you have like 1 million people doing versions of this all over the place now.
Yeah, and it's not like that like day in the life, whisper voice, TikTok reel. It's like real day in the life, but like long form.
Yeah, you just kind of hear people like grunting as they're pulling like a really heavy fish in or something.
That's so rad.
That's it.
And it's Japanese fishing. Oh, that's so cool.
Or it's like different people. Like right now we've been watching, last night we watched like a half an hour of these Japanese fishermen and like Miyazaki do stuff. But then we've also watched this one guy who we think is like maybe in Australia fishing and like, but then he has like kind of Asian-y looking ingredients. So like, I don't know. We just like don't even know who he is.
It's all good. It's you just like, you're not like following the creator, you're following just like the channel.
Yeah. I mean, we're into his journey. So we're just watching.
So cool. I love YouTube as well. Shout out to Tina Choi. Dooby Doo Bop. That's my YouTube.
I've been watching her vlogs because we're going to Korea soon.
Nice.
And so we were watching her Jeju-do one. And it's all saved.
Her Korea stuff is amazing. I cannot shout her out enough. They moved to Madrid, her and Kevin, and they have like a big journey there as well, which is fun. Such a good creator, like just a great chef. Like her knife skills,
she's so funny too.
She's funny and she's got good personality. Like the knife skills are sick. Last question: where do you want to be in 5 years with your career?
I still want to be freelancing. I love the flexibility of it. I like working on all these different things, whether it's an article or a package or a cookbook. And I would love to like continue working on like more personal projects too. So like, I don't know, like trying like more fiction or my mom and we've been going through letters from my grandparents. Like her parents were in the Japanese incarceration camps and they exchanged like hundreds of letters. So now we're like going through that and we want to turn that into something. I don't know what.
That's really special.
So this is me saying it here so that I will do it.
Yeah. We'll have you back in 5 years and we'll talk to you about that book project. But I know you'll have a great point of view with that story and many of the other stories. What a pleasure having you on our show. I hope you come back again.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
This is Taste is hosted and produced by Eliza Barbanel and me, Matt Rodbard. The show is edited by lead producer Clayton Gumbert and supervised by Pat Stango, Director of Media Production and Development at Penguin Random House. Thanks to Shalia Harris and the production team at Penguin Random House. Theme music by Steve Rydell. Logo and guest illustrations by Elyse Skurzat. Visit Taste online at tastecooking.com and make sure to subscribe to our newsletter to keep updated on all cool things in the world of taste.